Hello guys, in this video we will continue to learn few more basic concepts in chemistry. In the previous video we have seen about the laws of chemical combinations like law of conservation of mass, law of definite proportions, law of multiple proportions and Gay-Lussac's law. So in order to describe these laws of chemical combination and also to describe the structure of matter, John Dalton in 1808 put forward a theory known as Dalton's atomic theory. So we're going to see Dalton's atomic theory and the postulates of his theory. So these are the postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. So according to Dalton, matter is made up of very small particles called atoms which are indivisible. So according to Dalton, atoms are indivisible and every matter is made up of indivisible atoms. And the second postulate is atoms of same element have identical properties. So if you take an element of hydrogen, it will be made up of millions and millions of atoms of hydrogen. So all these atoms of hydrogen will have similar size, mass and shape. So that's what he means. Atoms of same element, they have identical properties. Atoms of different elements have different properties. For example, if you take an element of hydrogen and an element of boron, and if you take these two elements, hydrogen element will be made up of millions of hydrogen atoms and boron element will be made up of millions of boron atom. So if you pick one hydrogen atom and one boron atom, both will be having different properties. So hydrogen atom is entirely different from boron atom. So that is the third postulate. And the next postulate, when atoms of different elements combine in a fixed ratio, they give compounds. So compounds are formed when atoms of different elements combine in a fixed ratio. So when we say different elements, say for example, I take sulfur element and oxygen element, and sulfur atoms combined with oxygen atom in the ratio 1:2 to form sulfur dioxide, SO2. The same sulfur and oxygen atoms can combine in the ratio 1:3 to form sulfur trioxide, SO3. So these are two compounds of sulfur and oxygen, SO2 and SO3. So atoms of different elements combine in a fixed ratio to form compounds. And the last postulate is, in a chemical reaction, reorganization of atoms happen, which means atoms can neither be created nor be destroyed. Whatever atoms you have taken in the reactants, they will reorganize themselves and they come up with a new compound, but no new atoms will be created. So in a chemical reaction, there will be reorganization of atoms. So these were the postulates of Dalton's atomic theory, and many of these postulates have been proved wrong. For example, atoms are divisible. They have subatomic particles like protons, neutrons and electrons. Same way here we talk about isotopes. What are isotopes? Atoms of the same element having different atomic masses. So this also was proved wrong. But these postulates were good enough to explain laws of chemical combination. We have seen law of conservation of mass, law of definite proportion and law of multiple proportions. But Dalton's atomic theory failed to explain Gay-Lussac's law. According to Gay-Lussac's law of gaseous volumes, gases always combine with one another in a simple ratio by volume. But according to Dalton's atomic theory, elements combine with one another in a simple whole number atomic ratio, which means atoms combine. But in the case of Gay-Lussac's law, gases always combine with one another in a simple ratio by volume. So let's have a look on Gay-Lussac's law with an example. Hydrogen combines with chlorine to give hydrogen chloride. So one volume of hydrogen always combines with one volume of chlorine to give 2 volumes of hydrogen chloride. So to put it in a simple way, suppose I'm taking 10 hydrogen and 10 chlorine. See, I've written 10 circles of hydrogen, 10 circles of chlorine. So when they combine, I should get 10 hydrogen chloride. See, but I'm getting 20 hydrogen chloride, which means one volume of hydrogen combines with one volume of chlorine to give 2 volumes of hydrogen chloride. So if you are trying to explain this, it says half atom of hydrogen combines with half atom of chlorine. Then only you can get what? 2 volumes of hydrogen chloride. But this is in direct conflict with Dalton's atomic theory, which states that atoms are the ultimate particles of elements, and you cannot divide one atom, only half atom cannot take part in a reaction. So to explain this, an Italian scientist, Avogadro, he came up with a law. Avogadro solved this problem by clearly distinguishing between the two ultimate particles of matter, that is an atom and a molecule. He was the one to give a proper explanation, differentiation between an atom and a molecule. So according to Avogadro, an atom is the smallest particle of an element which can take part in a chemical reaction. Same way, a molecule is the smallest particle of an element which is capable of independent existence. Not only atom, because atom may or may not be capable of independent existence, but molecule can be existing independently. So a molecule are made up of atoms, where we talk about diatomic or polyatomic molecules. So after distinguishing between an atom and a molecule, Avogadro came up with a law which is called as Avogadro's law. It states that equal volumes of all gases under similar conditions of temperature and pressure contain equal number of molecules, which means if you are taking any gas, for example, you are taking hydrogen and oxygen gas of equal volume, and if you sit and count the number of molecules in the gas, both will have equal number. So if you take equal volumes of gases under similar conditions of temperature and pressure, they will contain equal number of molecules. Since the number of molecules is related here, we actually mean the smallest particle of a gas which can exist independently is the molecule and not the atom. So the volume of a gas must be related to the number of molecules present in it. So now look here. Hydrogen, when I say I'm taking 10, which means I'm taking 10 molecules of hydrogen. See, I have 2 atoms of hydrogen. It is diatomic. So when I say 10 hydrogen, I mean 20 atoms of hydrogen. Because in gas, it can exist in the form of a molecule. Same way, if I take 10 chlorine, I mean I'm taking 10 molecules of chlorine, which means it contains 20 atoms. So when they react, what happens? One atom of hydrogen combines with one atom of chlorine to give one compound of hydrogen chloride. So same way, 20 atoms of hydrogen combine with 20 atoms of chlorine to give you 20 hydrogen chloride. So that's what by Gay-Lussac's law we say one volume of hydrogen combines with one volume of chlorine to give you 2 volumes of hydrogen chloride. So this was clearly explained by Avogadro's law. Not only this, we have a few more applications of Avogadro's law. The first one is atomicity. Atomicity is defined as the number of atoms of the element present in one molecule. We have seen the example of hydrogen and chlorine. Hydrogen exists as a molecule which contains 2 hydrogen atoms. So H2 is the molecule of hydrogen. So how many atoms are there in H2 molecule? 2 hydrogen atoms. So the atomicity of hydrogen is 2. Same way, in the case of chlorine, 2 atoms are present in one molecule. So the atomicity of chlorine is 2. Here I have given the example of oxygen. Atomicity of oxygen, which is O2, is 2, because in one molecule of oxygen there are 2 oxygen atoms. Same way for ozone, it is O3. So in one molecule of ozone there are 3 atoms. So the atomicity of oxygen is 3. And the second application is Avogadro's law gives the relationship between molecular mass and vapor density. Vapor density is nothing but the ratio of density of any gas that you take to the density of hydrogen. We are not going to derive all this. Just remember this relationship. Molecular mass is equal to 2 times vapor density. We will be discussing about molecular mass, atomic mass, everything in the upcoming videos. This is one application of Avogadro's law. And the third one, Avogadro's law gives the relationship between mass and volume of a gas. It says 22.4 liters of any gas, which is the volume of gas. If you take 22.4 liters of any gas at standard temperature and pressure, and if you weigh it, it will be equal to the molecular mass of the gas expressed in grams. So each gas has a molecular mass, which means the mass of its molecule. So if you take 22.4 liters of any gas and weigh it, that weight will be equal to the molecular mass of that particular gas. We will be applying this in the further calculations, and I'll explain that in detail with examples. So the next important topic today that we are going to see is atomic mass. We are going to see what is atomic mass and how it is calculated. We know now that the matter is made up of atoms. So our next interest is to determine the mass of the atoms. However, an atom is so small that it cannot be seen or isolated. So therefore, it is impossible to determine the actual mass of a single atom by weighing it. So what we are going to do is, we are going to relate it to the mass of another atom. That's the reason why I have written relative atomic mass. So to determine this, again we are going to take the help of Avogadro's hypothesis. What does it say? Equal volumes of different gases under similar conditions of temperature and pressure contain equal number of molecules. So if you take equal volumes of any two gases and you weigh it, the ratio of their masses will be equal to the ratio of their single molecules. Say for example, I am taking two gases, hydrogen and oxygen, and I am taking equal volumes. One volume of hydrogen and one volume of oxygen. Say for example, I am taking 22.4 liters or whatever it may be, and then I am weighing it. The ratio of their masses will be equal to the masses of their single molecules. In this case, the ratio of their masses are always found to be in the ratio 1:16. This means that a molecule of oxygen is 16 times heavier than a molecule of hydrogen. A molecule of oxygen is 16 times heavier than the molecule of hydrogen. And further, you know, one molecule of hydrogen contains two hydrogen atoms. If I take one molecule of hydrogen, it has two hydrogen atoms. Same way, one molecule of oxygen has two oxygen atoms. So it can be interpreted that an atom of oxygen is 16 times heavier than an atom of hydrogen. So therefore, the actual masses of the atoms could not be determined, but their relative masses could be determined. So it follows that if the atomic mass of hydrogen is taken as 1, the relative atomic mass of oxygen is 16. So in the beginning, atomic masses of all the elements were obtained by comparing with the mass of hydrogen, which was taken to be 1. But by doing so, the atomic masses of most of the elements came out to be fractional. So the reference was changed to oxygen, whose mass was taken to be 16. However, a still better reference, which is now widely accepted, has been found to be carbon, whose mass is taken to be 12. So on the basis, the relative mass of hydrogen comes out to be 1.008 and that of oxygen is 16. Its actual value is 15.994, which is rounded off to 16. So you can define the atomic mass of an element as the number of times an atom of that element is heavier than an atom of carbon taken as 12. So how do you define atomic mass of an element? It is the number of times an atom of that particular element that you have taken is heavier than an atom of carbon, which is taken as 12. So these masses on the atomic mass scale are expressed in terms of atomic mass units, which is represented as AMU. One atomic mass unit is equal to the 1/12 of the mass of an atom of carbon-12 isotope, which is the reference taken. Carbon-12 is the reference taken, and one atomic mass unit is referred to as the mass equal to the 1/12 of the mass of an atom of carbon-12. So the atomic mass of hydrogen is 1.008 AMU, while that of oxygen is 15.9994 AMU, or it can be taken as 16 AMU. So when we talk about atomic mass of any particular element, we actually compare it with the mass of carbon-12, the atom that is taken, how many times it is heavier than the carbon-12. But it has been found in many cases atoms of the same element possesses different masses. Just now I told you about isotopes. In such cases, atomic mass of the element is taken as the average value, because as we expect all the atoms are not having the same mass. That's what we term as isotope. So when they have different masses, we take the average. Now I'll show you an example with chlorine. Ordinary chlorine is a mixture of two isotopes with atomic masses 35 units and 37 units. Chlorine can occur in nature. Suppose if you are taking 100 chlorine atoms, nearly 95 will be having atoms of mass 35 units, and 5 will be having atoms of mass 37 units, but both are chlorine atom, but their atomic masses are different. So such atoms are called as isotopes. So I have 35 units for chlorine, one atom, and another atom has 37 units, and their ratio, how they occur in nature, is 3:1. So now how to find the average atomic mass of chlorine? So 35 into 3 plus 37 into 1 divided by 3 plus 1. So if you do the calculation, you will get the average atomic mass of chlorine. So when we started talking about atomic mass, I use the word relative because we relate it to the standard reference, because we cannot determine the actual atomic mass. And now we are including the term average. So why do we use the term average? Because you have isotopes having different masses. Same elements, atoms have different masses. So we are taking the average. So the proper definition of atomic mass should use the term average. So the atomic mass of an element is the average relative mass of its atom as compared with an atom of carbon taken as 12. Alternatively, the average relative atomic mass of an element can be calculated from the fractional abundance of the isotopes of that element. Before that, we will define what is fractional abundance. Fractional abundance is the measure of average amount of a given isotope naturally occurring on Earth. So when an element is occurring in nature as isotopes, the average amount of the given isotope which is occurring naturally is called as the fractional abundance. Now I'll show you an example with neon, how to calculate the average atomic mass of an element from the fractional abundance. Naturally occurring neon consists of three isotopes. The mass numbers of these three isotopes of neon and their fractional abundance in nature is given. See, these are the three isotopes of neon. Neon 20, this is the mass number, neon 21 and neon 22, and this is the fractional abundance of each isotope. So from this, how to calculate average atomic mass of neon? See, take this mass number, multiply with this 20 into 0.9051 plus 21 into 0.0027 plus 22 into 0.0922. So when you do this calculation, you get the average atomic mass of neon. Here I use the term mass numbers. I hope you know the definition of mass number. It is nothing but the total number of protons and neutrons in an atom. And it is different from atomic mass in what way? Mass number is a whole number because it's a count, number of protons and neutrons, and atomic mass is a decimal value because you're taking average and you're finding out. Atomic mass is nothing but mass of one atom of a particular element, and mass number is the total number of protons and neutrons. And remember, when you talk about atomic mass, which means the mass of one atom of an element, we don't take the mass of electron into consideration because it is very negligible mass. So we take only the protons and neutrons weight when we talk mass, when we talk about an atom's mass. So to find out the atomic masses, we take carbon as the reference. So you have to remember, naturally occurring carbon also contains three isotopes of carbon with atomic masses 12, 13 and 14 units. But we take only the carbon 12 isotope as the reference on the atomic mass scale. So the atomic masses of few common elements, taking carbon 12 isotope as the reference, I will show you now. This is the list of commonly used atoms whose atomic mass we will be using in calculation. Aluminium 27.0 units, boron 10.8, hydrogen 1.008, carbon it's 12.0, chlorine is 35.5. This is what we take as reference. And oxygen is 16.0, nitrogen is 14.0, neon 20.0, magnesium 24. Which means these are this many times, related to carbon 12, these are that many times heavier. As we are talking about mass, we are always comfortable with expressing them in grams. So when you say aluminium, it is 27.0 units. That is the atomic mass. It will be more comfortable when you say 27 grams. So you can express atomic mass in grams also. So when you express atomic mass in grams, then we call that as gram atomic mass. For example, atomic mass of oxygen is 16 AMU. The same gram atomic mass of oxygen is nothing but 16 gram. So if you express atomic mass, it will be more convenient for you to talk about that mass, because we are very used to express mass in grams. So when we say gram or AMU, in both the cases we are talking about the atomic mass of that particular element. So if you know the atomic mass concepts clearly, then it will be very easy for you to calculate the molecular mass. Molecular mass is the sum of atomic masses of the elements present in a given molecule. Say for example, if I have methane, what is the formula for methane? CH4. So we have an atom of carbon and 4 atoms of hydrogen. I know the atomic mass of carbon, same way I know the atomic mass of hydrogen. So when I add them together, I get the molecular mass. So methane is the molecule and carbon and hydrogens are the atoms. So I take carbon. How many carbons are there? 1. I take hydrogen. How many hydrogens are there? 4. So 1 carbon atom into, what is the mass of 1 carbon atom? 12. So 1 into 12. So 12 gram. And same way, what is the number of hydrogen atoms? 4. And what is the mass of 1 hydrogen atom? 1. Actually, it's 1.008. We usually round it off to 1. So that will be equal to 4. When I add, I get 16 gram, or I can express it as 16 units. Now, we'll try to calculate the molecular mass of water. So how many hydrogens are there? There are 2 hydrogen atoms. So hydrogen 2 into, what is the mass of 1 hydrogen atom? 1. There are 2 hydrogen atoms, so 2 into 1, that will be equal to 2. How many oxygen atoms are there? 1 oxygen atom. So 1 into, what is the mass of 1 oxygen atom? It is 16. So that will be equal to 16. So when I add this together, I get 18 units, or 18 gram is the molecular mass of water. We'll look into one more example. How will you calculate the mass of hydrogen molecule? Hydrogen molecule is represented as H2. See, every time you get confused with the atomic mass and molecular mass. See, you know, atomic mass of hydrogen is 1. Okay, so when it comes to H2, the atomic mass is molecular mass is 2 grams. Okay, same way for oxygen, for 1 atom of oxygen, it is 16 gram. So when we talk about oxygen molecule, then the mass, molecular mass will be 16 into 2, that will be equal to 32 grams. So you should be very clear whether you're talking about atomic mass or the molecular mass. Atomic mass is the mass of 1 atom of that particular element, and molecular mass is the total mass of all the atoms present in the given molecule. And there is one more term which is called as formula mass. For example, NaCl. If you take NaCl, if you look into the structure of Na, it does not contain very discrete molecules as their constituent units. If you look in the compound, you can see positive sodium ion and negative chloride ion. They are arranged in a 3-dimensional structure, which you will be learning in detail in the grade 12. So it may be noted that in sodium chloride, 1 Na plus ion is surrounded by 6 Cl minus ion, and 1 Cl minus ion will be surrounded by 6 Na plus ion. So in such cases, the formula such as NaCl, it is used to calculate the formula mass. We don't take the individual number of sodium ions and chloride ions in the structure. We just take the formula NaCl and use that formula to calculate the molecular mass. For example, for Na, the atomic mass is 23 units, and for chlorine it is 35.5 units. So when you add this together, you get the molecular mass 58.5. But instead of using the term molecular mass, we use the term formula mass, because you are not taking the exact mass of that compound, you are taking the formula and calculating the mass. So this is called as formula mass. But usually we don't differentiate formula mass and molecular mass when we use it during calculations. The term molecular mass is used for both NaCl or H2O or CH4. So the two, you have to be clear with those two terms, atomic mass and molecular mass. So you just try to calculate the molecular mass of glucose. Its formula is C6H12O6. Remember, atomic mass and molecular mass are usually expressed as U. Thank you.